Isolo is actually starting to look like a guy that can play in the NBA. Running the floor, had one time where he ran the floor, got a long pass, and dunked on the run. It was impressive stuff, but it was the Steph Curry show, and it was the Jimmy Butler show. Curry had 52, Butler 27. They were, get this, 28 of 28 from the free throw line last night. That was impressive in its own right. But it was the guy that replaced Lester Quinones in their roster and in their makeup for Steve Kerr that made the big play. The Grizzlies are only down 3. It's about a minute and a half to go in the game, maybe less. Shot is taken from the outside that is missed. I don't know if that was Curry or not, but Curry did get tired at the end. He had 12 threes in the game. The record, by the way, is 14 by his teammate Klay Thompson. I was thinking for a little bit there. He had 32 at the half. He ended up with 52 in the game. I thought at one point he might get 60. I thought he could break the three-point record. He showed he's human. He ran out of gas, and he's a pouty little guy. You know, I used to love the way they played when they first started. But Podziemski is just like everybody. He made the big play. They missed the shot. He jumped high in the air and had a putback to put the Warriors up 5. And initially that was the dagger in the game. But they complain about everything. Like, Podziemski is just like Draymond Green. And there's an interesting story about how almost Draymond Green was really coming here, and it all got screwed up. Interesting stuff. This is before climbing. This is the trade deadline stuff that didn't happen. But Green and Podziemski, the same way. They've never fouled a human being. Every call is a bad one. They feel like it's their license to go complain to both the referees. And they'll do anything to win. I admire that part. But they're dirty. They're dirty as can be, and then you can't touch them. It's amazing to me. But it was a classic game last night. Ja was trying to match. He had 36. Edey, I mentioned, he had 16 rebounds in the game. He was maybe the most active I've seen him. And the difference in the game, besides the Podziemski play, is that Triple J, with 1:55 to go in the game, fouled out. I think, Elijah, look this up if you can. I'm pretty sure that Triple J was plus 13 in the plus-minus. He had foul trouble the whole game, and when he went out with 2 minutes to go, that, in essence, ended up being the game. Even Draymond Green goes, Jaren's my dog. I love him, but he's got to take better steps now. He's too important to the team to foul out. He can't be in foul trouble all the time, which I thought was pretty funny coming from Draymond Green.
Jaren Jackson ended up as a +5.
+5. I thought it was better than that. But anyway, he was on the plus side. And once he went out, man, that was a lot of trouble. So here is the troubling news. Memphis has lost the last 12 games that they have played against teams with a winning record. Did you hear that? The last 12 that were above 500, Memphis has lost. They've lost 3 in a row to everybody. But the last 12 games that they played against good teams, they've lost.
That is not going to cut it.
No. So they are now in 6th place. Literally, they are only a half a game ahead of the L.A. Clippers, who are playing a bad team tonight. Half
Pelicans.
a game. Who?
Yeah, Pelicans.
Oh, the Pelicans. I saw this or heard this. Do you realize in the last 2 years we all make fun of Zion because he doesn't play, because he's always hurt?
I know where you're going with this.
Zion has played more games than John Morant. And I noticed last night, Morant got hit in the face and he got taken out. And Morant was definitely trying to match Curry. And he was fantastic last night. Like, you look at him and you go, you can't trade him now because it's the lowest value you will get for him. And the guy, when he wants to play, is magic. He's really a great player. And he really tried last night. He had 36. He was absolutely terrific. But He's played less games than Zion. If I had given you a bet, I would say, who's played more games last 2 years? You would definitely say Ja.
Without question.
He hasn't. Well, suspensions, then the injury. He hardly played any games last year. Think about it. And then this year he's been out a bunch too. So that's pretty incredible. But now the Clippers tonight, the Grizzlies are absolutely inching down toward play-in territory. They have 6 games remaining. 4 of those are on the road. The good news is they're not playing great teams. They're playing Utah is on that schedule. They are. I think they got to win at least 4 of the 6 to stay in any kind of decent position. I think they can, but there are 4 more on the road. So we're going to have to wait and see about that. But, man, that is definitely tough stuff last night. But you got to see a classic. You got to see Steph Curry put on a show. 52 points. Now, you'd think, oh, my gosh, that's amazing. And the length of the shots. But you realize that is the 15th time? 15th time he scored 50 points.
How about this one? No other player has had 10-plus threes in the game more than 10 times. Steph Curry has done it 27.
Wow. That's incredible. And his buddy, who's definitely on the downside, he's lost the edge. But Klay Thompson has the record with 14. I really thought that was in jeopardy last night. This was amazing. I don't know who had this note last night. Maybe it was Mike Sadie. So that is the 15th time that Steph Curry's had 50 or more points. You know who's had the most 50-plus games in their career?
I would imagine Wilt Chamberlain, maybe?
Bingo. Very good. This young guy. What are you, 22?
22.
There you go. He knows his stuff. I'm appreciative of that. But do you know how many? This is 15, and we're all going, wow, 15. Now, it was a different era, but you know how many?
Well, I know he averaged 50 in a season, so I'd imagine it's over 100.
It's 105.
Wow.
105 games with 50 plus. The only guy that could stop Wilt Chamberlain was Bill Russell, and those were unbelievable battles. We do have a busy show. We are about to change all of life. Dennis Philippi is here. Joe Dank, we got a lot of things to talk about. The television ratings for both the men and the women's NCAAs are in. How did they do? Joe has your answers. Ticket prices are going up by 9.75%, but that's a blanket statement to make on Tiger fans. Sorting it all out for us. Final segment of this Wednesday, as always, Jason Munns, the beat writer for the Commercial Appeal on Tiger Basketball, will join us. We'll talk PJ Haggerty, who's getting targeted, all that good stuff. That will come your way momentarily as I sit in the Family Leisure studio, and I remind everybody, we got a new sale. I told you it was coming. It's pool time. They're already booking pool installations for 2025. By now, and get your place on the list for installation. 24-foot pools are starting at under $2,000, and they are installed. Liners starting at $299. All pool accessories, and you need them. That includes things like chemicals. 20% off. 5- and 6-person hot tubs starting at under $7,000. Swim spas and cold plunge tubs, they've got $2,000 off. And the patio furniture, they're still moving stuff out. Now it's up to 50% off. Please mention this ad. You get free installation of your pool just by saying Wolo or Elijah or Sports56. However you want to do it, you could save some money if you head on over to Family Leisure. All of a sudden, you know what time it is.
It's time for Dennis on Dave. Dennis on Dave. Dennis on Dave. Welcome to Dennis on Dave.
So, did you catch any of that Grizzlies game last night? I mean, it was a classic.
I saw most of it. Yeah, I saw most of it. It was. I was very impressed by Zach Edey. But I'm gonna let people see behind the curtain here. The power is out in Cooper Young. So I was unable to print my notes. I'm operating without notes. And whether you realize this or not, we all operate off of notes.
I'm
We're not
stunned. I am literally shocked by this announcement by you.
Everybody on the
I
air is
thought-
operating off of notes.
I
Nobody
thought
is just doing this.
all in your head that it just comes out.
None of this is off the top of our heads. Dave's got a stack of notes in front of him. Wherever Joe is, he's got a stack of notes in front of him. Elijah's got a stack of notes in front of him. I have no notes. I couldn't print. I usually have 3 or 4 pages of notes.
Don't worry, I'll steer you. It will all come back because really your brain is a computer. It's got chips in there. It's
a wreck. It's a wreck right now because I can't see my notes.
So you like Zach Edey?
I was very impressed.
You
with
were
Edey.
surprised by his movement? Maybe I was.
I was very impressed that he was able to cover Curry, which I would never have imagined that he could do. And some of the time he actually could.
So do you think maybe Taylor Jenkins and the way that he used Edey was maybe not the most efficient? I mean, I'm starting to wonder if that's the deal. Or maybe the system has changed a little bit, and here is Edey getting used to playing more and a different style, and it's starting to click.
Yeah, he's getting the opportunity, and he's taking advantage of it, which is great. I did not see Jenkins getting fired coming. If anything, maybe in the offseason, but usually if a coach gets fired at this point in the
9
season,
games to go,
it means they're quitting. It means they're going, okay, our season's over. And they're just acknowledging season's over. All right, let's.
I don't see that in the DNA of Taylor Jenkins. Honestly, I don't. Not like I know Taylor Jenkins, but just from watching him for 6 years, listening to all the interviews, I am shocked. I would be shocked at that.
I'm not saying that Jenkins was saying the season was over. I'm saying when you fire a coach with 9 games left, you're essentially saying, yeah, this season's a wash.
The Grizzlies are thrown in the top.
And Kleinman is saying, okay, it's a wash. And also Kleinman felt compelled to assure everybody that he had not consulted any of the players before he fired the head coach.
No, that's malarkey.
Of course it is. But that's the way that it works. So much of sports is just guys lying to us and us trying to figure out who's lying and who's not. But maybe he didn't consult any players, or at least he didn't want to have any of the players' fingerprints on Jenkins getting fired. Because most of the time when a coach gets fired, you can point at the player that got him fired. Every superstar has gotten a coach. Every NBA superstar has gotten a coach fired. Jordan did it. Magic did it. Everybody got a coach fired. Now, I don't know which player we would point to on this team who would have been responsible for Jenkins getting fired. But
you don't know?
I have my guesses, but I don't know.
I mean, you're holding back on me here. There was a guy that didn't play for 6 games and suddenly got healthy enough to start after the firing. Would you look at him?
Are you pointing to Jaron?
No.
Oh, Ja.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. I don't know if that's in his makeup. I don't know. But my point is, I think that when you fire a coach with 9 games left to go, you're saying we're giving up, our season's over, which is the way that it feels. I mean, it feels like the Grizzlies season is over. Yeah, they get to the play-in game, they're not going to go anywhere because they just don't have any leadership at this point. The horrible Aaron Rodgers saga.
Oh, my gosh.
Drags on.
Why would the Steelers still be talking to this guy?
Why is Minnesota still talking to the guy? Why is anybody still talking to the guy? There is no starting job available in the NFL.
Isn't Minnesota where former Packer quarterbacks go to die?
It's happened. Well, it's just happened once, I think. But why would he want to follow in the footsteps of Favre? He's already poisoned the well so much for his own legacy. What's he going to do? He's going to go play for Minnesota and then steal from a charity just so he can absolutely follow in Favre's footsteps?
Do you think Aaron Rodgers just likes attention?
Yeah.
So
it's the same thing as Favre. They just want to be wooed.
And in the end, I think Aaron knows it's over.
Yeah, he doesn't have anything. He doesn't have anything to offer.
He's got nothing left in the tank. It was very evident.
We've talked about this a dozen times. The idea that he's going to bring stability and leadership and maturity. Age does not equal maturity. He is not a mature guy. He's a baby. He points fingers at everybody. And I wouldn't want him. I mean, if we had an NFL team, I wouldn't want him to go to the Saints. I'm a Saints fan. I wouldn't want Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback, even though we don't have a quarterback on the Saints roster, but I still wouldn't want Aaron Rodgers because I just think the guy's poison.
Kind of Sean Payton leaving was the end of the
Oh God, yeah.
end of the Saints.
Well, Drew Brees, the two of them
Yeah,
leaving that
right.
that was the
Right.
that was the death.
Speaking
knell
of
for him.
football, spring football, UFL, Showboats game, were you amongst the, well, they said 4,300. Were you amongst the 15 to 1,800 that were on hand?
No,
on
but I'll
Sunday?
tell you what, Dave. I live right down the street
Yeah.
from Liberty
You could
Stadium.
have walked to the game.
Easily. I've walked to the Liberty Bowl many times, but I didn't even have to adjust my traffic route to accommodate
No, wait a second.
the UFL.
I'm gonna question that, and I'll tell you why. There was a church service
Right, but that had nothing to do with the game.
that was held at the
new sports complex.
at the new event center.
Yeah.
And that was absolutely more attended than the football game. What they should have done was they should have slipped the guy a note while he was doing his sermon and said, by the way, the Showboats game is going to start right after this service, and the Showboats
Bring your
are
program,
saying,
you get in for free.
come on in.
just walk across the parking lot and triple our attendance for the game. Yeah, I did have. I ran into that traffic, but we drove by the Liberty Stadium 3 times during that game, and never once was
No
traffic in any way affected. I don't know what's going to happen with the UFL, but in the NFL, another thing, the owner of the Cleveland Browns, whose name I could tell you if I had my notes.
It's Jimmy Haslam.
Jimmy Haslam, that's it. He admitted that he took a big swing on Deshaun Watson
And missed.
But everybody knew it was an incredibly stupid move. A $200+ million guaranteed contract to a guy we already knew was a head case. Because why else would Houston have let him go? He's very talented.
Oh, yeah.
But he's an imbecile and has, well, obviously we know he's got
He likes to
50 different lawsuits
go to places
and ask for things that
Yeah.
aren't on the menu.
Right.
That's right. He
Very well
wants
put.
to order a la carte a lot of the time. So they've wasted their money in Cleveland. They don't have a quarterback.
Speaking of the NFL, 2 things. One, they are adopting the UFL's technology. There's not going to be a chain gang anymore.
I'm all for it.
And I like the way in the broadcast they use it. It's kind of like what they do with tennis on a play that's inbounds or out of bounds, and they fly the ball and it hits and it goes in or out, and that's they kind of fly the thing in and they show you it's 2 inches off or 2 inches good, whatever it is. It's kind of cool, and I guess they're going to use that technology. There's literally a chip in the wall,
Yeah.
and that's how that works.
I've been campaigning for this forever because I've said that the old guys, the middle-aged guys with the chains is one of the dumbest, most archaic things in all of sports. That they're just eyeballing where the ball is when we've got the technology. We have the technology. And it's that simple. I'm so glad they're going to fix that. They are doing a couple of other things in the NFL. They have tabled whether or not they're going to ban the brotherly shove until the owners meeting in
Tush
May,
push, yeah.
which means they're just going to try to figure out what language they can use to ban the tush push. Of course they're going to, because only 2 teams use it. But what they're saying, and this drives me crazy, is they're saying that they want to eliminate it, at least 16 teams want to eliminate it, because in their thinking, it might cause injuries.
Oh, that's how they're going to.
That's what they're couching it in.
That's the excuse.
Despite the fact that the Eagles have run it 108 times in the last 2 years and not one single player has been hurt on the play. If you pick any other play in football, if somebody runs it 108 times, somebody gets hurt.
I don't disagree with that. Here is the issue. I don't believe in the total rules of football that guiding someone into the end zone, pulling them, pushing them, whatever, is literally written in. You're allowed to block somebody to get them in the end zone, but I've never seen where it says, okay, and by the way, 2 guys can pick him up and throw him over the goal line. That seems to me that it's not a legal play. Now, congratulations to the Eagles because they are the ones that have figured out how to use this successfully with their personnel and leverage, and they figured out all the angles and everything else, and they're the ones that obviously have figured out a way to do this correctly. But
it used to be illegal. You of all people will remember that back in '85, William Perry tried to carry Walter Payton into the end zone, and it was flagged because you can't do that.
Right.
You and then they just changed the rule 20 years ago. They just eliminated the rules. Said, okay, go ahead and knock yourself out because they didn't think anybody was going to do it. And then the Eagles figured out a way to do it, and now they're going to figure out a way to keep them from doing it by doing a big lie of saying it's at risk of hurting people.
Here's my sense of it again. I congratulate the Eagles for figuring it out, but I don't think it's a legal play. To me, that's not the way football was intended to be played. So if they ban it, I've got no problem with that, and it's not because I'm not an Eagles fan. It's simply because I don't think that's the spirit of the rule.
And it didn't used to be. And now, and another thing they're doing now, of course, they're changing the rule again on touchbacks. It's going to be at the 35-yard line.
Wow, that's crazy.
Which the NFL keeps claiming they're trying to change the kicking rules to prevent injuries. You move the touchback out to 35 yards, nobody's kicking it into the end zone. And you're going to have a return on every kick, and you're going to have a whole lot more injuries.
What if you call for a fair catch at the 5? I mean, that's what I don't understand, because then it goes to the 35, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, no. If you call for a fair catch at the 5 and catch it, you're at the 5.
No, that's on a punt. Is that the case on a kick?
I'm pretty sure whatever kick it is, if you fair catch it, that's where you are.
I will tell you this: with the way the kickers are now, they can kick 60 yards. Right?
Yeah.
You're talking about one first down, a first down and a half, and you're in field goal range.
Yeah.
That's absurd.
2 plays, you're in midfield.
I honestly, well, maybe they just want more scoring, but if it were me, I would say we're moving it back to the 20.
I would be all for that because that's exactly the thing. The NFL is doing, again, it's another big lie. We're moving it here to prevent injuries. This is going to cause more injuries because it's going to cause a lot more returns.
I don't know that because, honestly, the way they have structured where you stand and when you can move, the velocity of the hit is nothing like it used to be. I'm not sure it's really going to cause more injuries. Well, I guess we're going to see, because if it does mean you go to the 35 and there's, the UFL does a landing area.
Right.
That makes some sense to me too. UFL's got some pretty good rules, actually.
If it was watchable football, I'd agree. Now your thing, the TGL. Saw a story yesterday that they're thinking that TGL can be a popular fan attraction because people don't want to have to go through the pain in the ass of going outside on a hot day and following golfers. That they would be happier to just sit in their seat, pay $12 for a beer, and watch guys play pretend video golf instead of actually going out and watching the sport.
Wasn't somebody trying to put an expansion franchise with, it's still going to be where it is, but I guess the Dallas logo on it or some sort of thing like that, and they're paying an exorbitant rights fee, buy-in fee to get in the league. I don't know. I personally, and there's no one loves golf more than me.
I know.
I could take it or leave it. I'd like to try it,
right?
But would they spend that much money on those on the computerized green that's like $2 million to build that? Would they actually put real grass like the guys are hitting off of if they franchise this and tried to put it in other places? I doubt they could do that. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Their idea is just that they don't think that the average golf fan wants to go walk around on a hot day on a golf course and watch the actual sport.
Well, how many does that place seat? 2,000? I mean, it's not like a big crowd.
But they could charge so much more because it's air conditioned.
Yeah.
And you don't have to walk around.
Good luck.
You don't have to follow golfers around.
I have literally no idea how the TGL is going to continue. But ESPN got decent enough ratings. They're still all in. And apparently there's people trying to buy into the league. So I would have to say at this moment, we'd have to call that a success. My friend, as always, I appreciate it, and we will see you next Wednesday.
I'll have notes next week.
You did great without them. We take the break. When we come back, we head to the Great White North. Yes, it's snowing in Wisconsin, and that's where our friend Joe Dank is. He comes your way on the business of sports in just a minute.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
It's time for the ultimate Hot Wings Showdown at the World Championship Hot Wing Contest and Festival, Saturday, April 26th at the Memphis River Garden Park on Riverside Drive. See over 60 teams fighting for hot wing supremacy along with live blues, soul, and rock and roll, all in support of the Mama McDonald House. It's a sizzling day of fiery flavors, live music, and family fun, and you're invited. Get your tickets now at worldwingfest.com, sponsored by RS Financial Group, Bank 3, ATC Fitness, and Universal Access. This is your delicious chance to make a difference.
Taxes was taxing. Now taxes is relaxing when you file for free.
I can file for free? TurboTax Free Edition. Roughly 37% of filers qualify. Simple Form 1040 returns only. See if you qualify at turbotax.com/free. I can file for free.
Now this is taxes. File for free with TurboTax Free Edition and get your maximum refund. No schedules except for earned income tax credit, child tax credit, and student loan interest. See if you qualify at turbotax.com/free.
Welcome to Triumph Auto Sales, where you'll have a great car buying experience. Triumph Auto Sales is your #1 source of quality pre-owned vehicles ranging from lease returns to new car trades, all at huge savings. Plus, Triumph has a full array of financing options to meet your needs. Find your next car online at triumphautosales.com or stop in today at 4875 Elmore Road. Triumph Auto Sales will help you get the vehicle you want at the price you need and the service you deserve. For a great car and a great experience from a local and family-owned business, visit Triumph Auto Sales.
Welcome in. We're going to head to the Great White North. Joe Dank is standing by, but first I'll let you know this portion of the show is brought to you by the good folks at Dinstall's, and the madness is almost over, but Dinstall's never ends. It's got all the sweet treats ready for your watch parties. I got to admit, I was in a suite last night at the Grizzlies game, and they had a Dinstall's candy bar. There is nothing better than Dinstall's chocolate. And you know their fudge. That is won, literally, a worldwide award a couple of years ago, the #1 fudge in the world, right here from Memphis. And then there's their signature cashew crunch. There's the turtlettes. There's chocolate basketballs if you're going to have a Final Four party. And, of course, nobody does the strawberries like Dinstall's with that fondant. Boy, it's good. Then there's also grapes and pineapple covered in their chocolate. Stop by today, pick up your favorites. You got all kinds of locations, 5 of them. You got the suburbs, that's Collierville and Germantown. You got downtown. You got my neck of the woods, Laurelwood, and you got where they make them on Pleasant View. Pick up a sweet treat for the Final Four. Go see our good friends at Dinstall. So we head north. Is it really snowing where you are in Wisconsin? Good morning, Joe Dank.
Good morning, David. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm wonderful. I'm always happy when I get to talk with you. You got all kinds of info for us on the NCAA and the women's NCAA. You want to start with those TV ratings?
Hey, I'll start with this. 42 degrees, 25-mile-an-hour wind. It feels like 21 degrees up here. So how's that?
Wow. Well, we're about to get
Isn't that
a lot of
amazing?
wind. We got wind here, but we've got 70 degrees. It's going to be crazy tonight. So at least you're safe from tornadoes. I'm not sure we
There you go. Yes, sir. So let's look at the men's NCAA tournament. The overall tournament now through the first 2 weekends, and we're down to the Final Four. The overall TV ratings are flat. All games over all networks have averaged 9.5 million fans. That's flat to last year. It's plus 3%. It's plus 3% over 2023. The interesting results, however, are really last weekend's Elite Eight, which were really attractive, I thought, matchup-wise.
Well, you had brand names and it was chalk, so you would figure they'd be great numbers.
Exactly, and yet the The whole weekend combined was minus 10%
What?
versus the previous year. The games averaged 9 million fans. Sunday was particularly interesting. That Auburn-Michigan State game, now that's the most viewed game of the weekend at 11.7 million, but that was down 23% versus last year's NC State-Duke game. And then the Houston-Tennessee game, that was the early game on Sunday, did just 7.1 million. That was minus 32%. That was Houston-Tennessee. It was minus 32% versus last year's Purdue-Tennessee game.
Go figure that out. Houston's a bigger market than Lafayette, Indiana. How and you're talking about a 1-2 matchup. How in the world could that have been outrated by the year? I guess Zach Edey. Could that be it?
Well, look, the one factor that was cited in many reports was last year the Elite Eight Sunday was Easter Sunday, and they figured that there were a lot of people at gatherings and got together, and they watched basketball that day without much else to do. So from that standpoint, that's one explanation as to why the ratings were off. Now, Saturday night was a doubleheader on TBS. The Alabama-Duke game, that was the second most viewed game of the weekend. It came in at 9.8 million viewers, and that was 25% better than last year's Bama-Clemson game.
Was that the most? Was that the highest rated game of all? Then at almost 10 mil.
No. The Auburn-Michigan State game did over 11.5 million.
Oh wow!
It was just down 23% versus last year's game. The other game on Saturday, that Florida Texas Tech game, that did 7.5 million, and that was 16% ahead of last year's UConn Illinois game. So the men's ratings through the first two weekends are flat. As we know, we have an all chalk Final Four. It'll be interesting to see what that does in terms of ratings this weekend. We'll chat about that next week.
Well, give me your sense. What do you think will happen? I mean, if it's down 10% leading up to this, do we think? I mean, we still have the two best players in college basketball in it, in Janiah Broome and in Cooper Flagg. Give me your sense. Flat, up, down. What do you think?
I think it's going to be up. It's going to be up in that neighborhood of 3 to 5%. I just think that plus 3 to 5%.
Okay, I'll hold you to that.
Thank you.
How about the women?
Women.
Yeah.
Maybe not a surprise here. Last year, we all thought, or some of us thought, was a bit of an anomaly, the Caitlin Clark effect. And the Elite Eight this past weekend for the women averaged 2.9 million fans, but that's minus 50% versus last year. So a big hit. 2 games on Sunday on ABC. The UCLA-LSU game did just under 3.5 million. And the South Carolina...
Though, really. Don't you think?
Well, exactly.
I mean, 3.5 million.
Yes, these are still good numbers.
Yeah.
The South Carolina-Duke game was just over 3 million. Now, that sounds okay. That sounds pretty good. But last year, the Iowa-LSU game did 12.2 million.
Well, that's Caitlin Clark, right?
Yeah. But even last year's second game on the Sunday, with the benefit of that lead-in, did 6.7 million, which is more than double the 2 games this year. And that was UConn and Southern Cal last year. And UConn is UConn. Southern Cal had Juju playing. So it was pretty good. The real fall-off, however, is on the Monday night. And UConn played USC on ESPN Monday night. Did 3 million viewers, again, pretty good. That was minus 55% versus last year. And the Texas TCU game did 2.3 million fans Monday night, minus 81% versus a similar last year.
Oh, my God.
So if you put it all together for the women's NCAA tournament, it is minus 31% versus last year. That's kind of the bad news. But there is good news because the prior year, 2023, they are plus 47% over 2023. So there's still a tremendous growth story for women's basketball on TV. It just doesn't approach what it was last year, which, as I say, I think we can all agree was a bit of an anomaly and was lightning in the bottle and every other cliche you can come up with.
Yeah, and I'm with you there. And here's what I get the sense of with this too. She kickstarted this up of 50% will probably can sustain itself, and I'll give you 3 reasons why. Okay, Paige Beckers, and they're gonna be stars. Paige Beckers is gonna be a star. She's gonna help the WNBA ratings. So is this girl from UCLA that no one knew about until this particular year, and her games against Juju Watkins, and that's Lauren Betts. She's 6'8". She's huge, and she's agile, and she's good looking. So I think that's going to help them a bit going forward. She's going to be back at UCLA next year, so that'll sustain the women's game. And I don't know what's going to happen with Juju Watkins now, because I think she's only a sophomore. She could leave, but now she's got the ACL. She'll probably come back for another year. But you're getting stars that these postseason and big games that are getting exposure. Exposure leads to more exposure. I think Caitlin Clark started it, but there's something behind it that will keep the women's game going.
Yeah, I tend to agree. They've taken a tremendous step forward, and now they need to maintain some slight growth over these figures that they're posting this year, and it'll be a successful enterprise, and it'll be good for the game.
All right, let's move to the UFL week number 1. What were those ratings like? Because they bank a lot on those ratings. They'll tell you, we had better ratings than the NBA last year. That's why they have the model they do. They've cut down expenses by not putting the teams in the real cities that their helmets say they're in. But what were they like? We know attendance wasn't very good.
Yeah, attendance was soft, particularly in Memphis, and we'll get to that in a moment. But the television picture is, I think we mentioned this last week. Fox is doing a Friday night primetime game this year on all of the Friday nights, and they opened with St. Louis at Houston on Friday night on Fox. The game did 690,000 viewers. Now, consider the competition that night was a pair of was in fact the basketball. So those were Sweet 16 games at that point. So it was a competitive evening, but Fox broadcast did 690,000.
So you're basically talking almost 10 million to 700,000. It's not even in the same league, but that's the NCAA.
Right. And somewhere you want to be doing $1 million at the very least on a broadcast network, but I think as subsequent weeks will be interesting to see the tale of the attraction of this product on television. That wasn't a good night given the competitive atmosphere. Fox also had a game on Saturday. That was the second best rated game, and again, this was on Fox broadcast. San Antonio at Arlington did just under 590,000 viewers. So there you are.
What are those numbers? Do you know what those numbers are comparable to the prior year?
Don't have that at the fingertips at this time. The Memphis game, Sunday morning, 11 a.m. That's on ESPN. Just under 570,000. So you cracked that 500,000 mark. And then there was a game later on Sunday on ESPN, and that one was under 400,000 and at about 395,000. That was Birmingham at DC.
Does 570,000, 500,000, let's just say that, 500,000 at Sunday morning at 11 a.m. and you're up against church and everything else. Is that a good number? Is that a number that ESPN says, okay, we can work with that?
That's just difficult. I mean, look, ESPN is on all day, every day, and they have sports on. So I think they're always pleased to have a live sports offering at any time when they can. But it's 500,000 viewers on a national platform in an environment that is 100 million TV households. So you have less than 500,000. So
it's not very good.
You're on TV.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is that the lowest rated TV game was the one in DC, but that was the highest attended game. The DC team drew 12,000, just over 12,200 fans.
You think that's
for the
legit?
Birmingham at DC game?
Is that legit?
Well, short of going there and counting them ourselves.
I hate to say this, okay? The
Yep.
announced crowd at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium for the Showboats game with the Michigan Panthers was 4,300. There were 1,800 at the most there. So let's cut it in half right off the bat, if that.
Well, and let's qualify it this way as well, because it was in doing the research for today. I was reading some stories about the attendance and trends in attendance. That announced attendance at just over 4,300 for Memphis on Sunday was more than 1,000 fans below their previous lowest announced attendance figure that they've ever announced. And to make matters worse, that's the worst spring football announced attendance since 1991. You have to go back to something called. You have to go back, David, to something called the Raleigh-Durham Skyhawks. They were playing in the World League of American Football, and they had about 4,200 fans announced at a game, and this is the worst attendance since that at a game. So, lots of reasons for this. The team does not have a presence in the community. Right. That's been a difficult situation. I think it's the case in all of these places. The other two game sites were Arlington, Texas. That's where, of course, the league is based, and all of the teams are there. That game drew 10,000 fans for the San Antonio-Arlington game.
I saw that. I can't believe that. I saw the picture. It didn't look like they had many more than the Showboats, even in the place where everybody is. I don't buy that figure. You know what's amazing? That's amazing to me what you just said. And this is why I love having you on. 1991, but just by announced crowds, which we all know are lies anyway. So Memphis needs to lie better. Since 1991, that's the lowest spring game ever. And how many leagues? That's the USFL, the XFL, the WF, the WLAF, whatever the hell it was. That's incredible.
Yeah, it really is.
Man, oh man. Topic for next week is the gambling aspect of this, because I think the UFL does have a revenue stream coming in beyond just sponsorship revenues. So we're going to try to figure that one out. And also, there is a reduction of rights fees on these regional sports networks where teams are not making what they used to make. I want to get into that with you next week.
All right, David, will do. I'm going to try and stay warm up here and look forward to being back in studio with you next Wednesday.
I look forward to that as well. It's always a learning experience when we hear about the business of sports from Joe Dank, former general manager of 24 and 30, and also a guy who's been a sports director and producer for years and years and years. Let's take the break. When we come back, we talk to Munzie. Yes, we will talk Tiger ticket prices. We'll talk portal. We'll talk a whole bunch with the beat writer from the Commercial Appeal. That's Jason Munz, right around the corner.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Rick's Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Rick's Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With two conveyor lines and the largest batch ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. Babbel is designed with you in mind. From expert-created lessons to conversational video units and even live classes, you can personalize your Babbel experience to be exactly what you need to really learn a new language more easily. Go ahead, set a goal for yourself. Accomplish it with Babbel. Try Babbel for free. Go to BABBEL.com. That's Babbel.com.
Welcome to Fat Larry's in Bartlett. Come in today for award-winning barbecue and so much more. Catfish, steak burgers, chicken, certified prime Angus beef steaks, along with all the sides, homemade rolls, delicious desserts, beer, and service that is out of this world. Fat Larry's cooks everything made to order just for you. Dine in or order online at fatlarrys.com. We're the best barbecue, southern cooking, and friendly atmosphere in town. Family owned and proud of it. Fat Larry's, conveniently located at 7537 Highway 70, just west of Appling.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here's the voice of the Tigers, Dave Wolo.
Munsey's going to join us in a minute. There is a story that is evolving that is incredibly interesting. There is a freshman co-ed at Ole Miss who there was a rumor about her. And Pat McAfee on his show on ESPN gave credence to this rumor, which apparently is a falsehood and has literally destroyed this poor young girl's life. And she has now apparently gotten representation because she's going to sue the heck out of McAfee and ESPN. And this suit raises questions about the scope of defamation law, First Amendment speech protections for media personalities. I see this. She's not a public figure. I don't see how he would get immunity from that. I think she's got a case here. That's my non-legal thought process. But you've taken this poor girl. She's just a regular person, a 18 or 19-year-old girl on a college campus. There's a rumor about her. You spread that rumor. You gave it credence. She's not a public figure. She's not fair game. I'd say he's got a problem. I know a few lawyers. Text me if you're listening and you think this is right or if it is wrong. Let's head down south of the border to our friend Jason Munz, who joins us every Wednesday, although I think that is going to move starting next week. We'll let you all know Munzy's established time, but let's start with established ticket prices. Memphis has gone up. They are no longer going to include 9.75% sales tax in the tickets. Now, this is not totally across the board. There are some tickets that are going down. Actually, some tickets that are going up. Prices are, we know in for certain, on the sales tax, they're going up almost 10%, but there's other ways that offset it a little bit. What is your sense of it all, and what are you hearing from fans? Good morning.
Good morning. Well, yeah, it's been pretty mixed, the reaction, I would say. I mean, I've seen some people say, this is kind of like what Memphis should be doing. But and then there are some people who are saying that this is outrageous, and I don't want to have to pay the tax. I don't know why I have to start paying the tax now, blah, blah, blah. But not that, the university is not going to come out and say it, but this is truly, this is one of the first things that Memphis has done to sort of, as the dawn of the revenue sharing era is upon us, this is one of the first things they've done to adjust operations to account for that. And they're not the only school to do that. Iowa State is another one who announced in January that they were, going to be doing actually a lot more than what Memphis is doing to, start to build the funds that they're going to need to pay players. That is going to be actually a week from on Monday. The judge is going to issue a formal ruling on the house settlement revenue sharing stuff. It's expected to be it's expected to pass. It will go into effect July 1st, and at that point, schools will take over paying players directly. They're going to be able to pay up to $20.5 million. That's the cap on it.
Now, hold on. Let's clarify here, because this is confusing to me. Right, it's across all sports. They're going to up to $20.5 million. Here's my question for you. What about NIL? How is NIL affected in this revenue share? So if there's a cap at $20.5 million, then that's going to all student athletes. That basically is on one entity. There's another revenue stream here called NIL, which is still fair game, correct?
I think technically it is, but my understanding is that some schools are going to not completely sever ties, with NIL collectives, but I think there are some schools that are worried about that have an eye on compliance and are going to, like where schools were associating themselves previously with NIL collectives, they were publicizing NIL collectives and doing all these sorts of things. I don't think you're going to see much of that anymore with certain schools. Again, I don't think it is going to be totally and completely out of bounds. I think if there are, certain industrious entities who want to continue doing this sort of thing, they're going to have to jump through a ton of hoops to do it. But I think they will still be able to do it in some form or fashion. So that's my understanding of it.
And if it's $20.5 million, okay, now this is going to be revenue share, right? This is money going into the school. School's got to pay it out. By my, again, uneducated eye here, I would think because of Title IX, 10.25 of that million would be going to, or whatever half is of the figure you come up with, half of that's got to go to the women.
That's a good question. I'm not too clear on that myself. I anticipate as once the judge, again, the anticipation is that the judge is going to approve it to pass the settlement. I think once we get to that point, a lot of questions will be answered. But yeah, you would think logically that is true. But I don't know that to be true. We'll see.
That's why I think if football championship teams are paying $25 million through NIL to their players, and basketball's paying $12 million to their championship kind of Final Four teams, then that's if you're sharing that revenue share with all the student athletes, and half of it have to go to women, then, ladies and gentlemen, the NIL will be back in front and center. One last thing, let's go back on these prices, because they're knocking down some of the attendance down to 14,470. So they're basically taking 3,649 end zone seats in the upper deck or the terrace level of the FedEx Forum, and they're going to curtain them off. I'm looking at this. Floor prices are the same. Plaza prices have gone up slightly. Club level prices are up a bunch. Terrace prices pretty much slight increase. One very top level has gone down from 200 to 100. That's the only thing I think that I see that has gone down.
So I'm looking at the same graphic you are, and I think you're looking at the columns. You have them backwards. The pricing for the pricing on the left.
Oh, I see. You're
on the
right.
left-hand column is next season. So what you're looking at is there are.
Oh, they've gone down. So you're right. They've gone down in the upper deck.
The face value, value of the tickets have gone down. Most of them have gone down, kind of a little bit. Like there's a section in the plaza level that's gone from 3,665 to 3,500 for next season.
Yeah.
Obviously, you got to tack on now the
10%.
The sales tax will be included, whereas it wasn't before. But there are some places, like there are some sections in the club level where there's one section that went from 1,800 this past season and now is only going to be 980.
Yeah,
so, and the cheapest ticket was $100. Now that ticket is now going to be $200. So there are certain sections that are either staying the same or slightly increasing, but the majority, it seems like, of tickets are going to be decreasing by some percentage.
Now, remember that $200 price that you're talking about. That's a season ticket, so that's not per game. That's $10 a game. That's a pretty reasonable price. Speaking of money, the bonus that Penny Hardaway got, you did a good story on that. I was shocked it wasn't nearly as much as I thought it might be. Coach of the Year, champion regular, champion of the tournament, and he got to the NCAA. I would have thought it was more.
Yeah, so it's interesting in his contract, the way the conference championship bonus or incentives clauses are worded is if you win the regular season, you get $50,000. If you don't win the regular season, but you win the conference tournament, you get $50,000 Penny gets $50,000 for that. But if you do both, it is non-cumulative.
Okay.
One cancels out the other. So that's a little interesting wrinkle. And then, yeah, you would think that just getting to the NCAA tournament is worth something, but no, you have to get in his contract, the only bonus money you get for the NCAA tournament is if he advances to the Sweet 16, and then if you advance to the Elite Eight, there's more. If you advance to Final Four, there's more. So, and that stuff is cumulative, but obviously he hasn't done that yet, so he hasn't triggered that clause.
All right, let's get to the portal. Everybody wants to know. PJ Haggerty's back in town. Is he staying? What do you think it'll cost? Is there truth to Yaxel Lindeberg and to Mikey Williams out of nowhere, who barely played at UCF last year?
Yeah, I'm not putting a whole bunch of weight on Yaxel Lindeberg or Mikey Williams. I mean, Memphis has had its dalliances before with Yaxel. Even before he went to UAB, Memphis offered him a scholarship, and he eventually went to UAB. Then last off season, there was some talk, and it didn't materialize. I don't think it's going to materialize this time. I'm not sure he's going to stay in college. We'll see. If he does, he's going to make a very, very, very large sum of money at some major institution. Mikey, I think that's probably been overblown as something a lot more than what it actually is. My impression of of that is Penny is probably still just checking on him as a person in his life who helped him through a difficult situation. I get the sense that Penny probably just reached out to him and said, "Hey, if you ever need anything, let me know." I do not think Memphis is actively pursuing Mikey Williams. And then, yeah, PJ's back in town. He posted somebody posted on Instagram that he was in the facility. I think he's probably, I don't know, I'm not saying he's necessarily in the physical, literal sense here to stay, but I still stand by, I've been saying this for a while, I still think he is going to play for Memphis next season. And I think we probably will hear something relatively soon on that front.
What do you think that costs, NIL money?
It's probably going to cost north of it's probably going to get close to $2 million, I would think.
Wow.
I mean, somewhere between $1.5 million and $2 million is what I think, and I think that's going to be because the market is going to drive up his price. And you know what? I mean, he's going to be a preseason All-American next season, and those don't come around very often, especially at Memphis anymore.
Yeah.
So, like you know what you have. It would be a really, really big shot in the arm to get him back, and I think a lot of people around here know that and are prepared to do everything they can to keep him.
You got 30 seconds. Give me two names that you think Memphis really has a shot at in the portal that will make me go, yeah.
Duncan Powell is here today. He's one of two visitors on campus. Played at Georgia Tech last season. He's a 6'8" forward. Shot 36% from three last year. Really, really came on strong down the stretch.
He averaged 12 points at 5 rebounds or something like that?
Yes, but the last 7 games, he averaged 17 points and 8 rebounds.
Wow.
And that included a 24-point game against Duke in the ACC tournament.
Wow.
So I like him. And then the other guy who's on campus is Tanner Toulson, who's a kind of a do-it-all guy from Utah Valley. I'm not sure that I would put him in the high confidence category. I would save that for probably Temple guard Quante Berry and Syracuse wing Chris Bell, both of whom visited over the weekend, and I think Memphis is in good shape with both those guys.
All right, my friend, thank you much as always. We will talk again next week. We appreciate you.
All right, thanks.
That is Jason Munz, beat writer of the Commercial Appeal, brought to you by Southern Security. Are you getting the lowest possible rate on your mortgage at Southern Security? They offer low rates, flexible terms, no PMI, and, of course, unbeatable service, the latest in technology. You can refinance your current mortgage with the Mid-South's best mortgage lender. For more info, you visit online at southernsecurity.org, or here's the best part, talk to a human being. Just chat at 901-452-7900. Southern Security is an equal housing lender. Southern Security is a proud supporter of U of M athletics and 901 Women. It is your home team credit union. Southern Security, federally insured by NCUA. That'll do it for us. We'll talk again. Pete Pranica will lead us off tomorrow on the Grizz and where they stand. But we've got Johnny Radio right around the corner. Have a great day, everybody.